Hi. Today we will tell you about the unusual brainchild of the military-industrial corporation Lockheed Martin. Sea Shadow. This ship became the progenitor of a new era of military vessels. For example, the Zumwalt-class destroyer and coastal warships LCS-2 and the Fighter FSF-1. Inspired by the success of creating a low-profile F-117 strike aircraft, the Lockheed Martin Military-Industrial Corporation decided to try its knowledge in the field of stealth technology application on warships, and more specifically on submarines. The idea was to eliminate the unmasking signs of a submarine with an acoustic detection method. One method of increasing stealth was to cover the hull with special materials that make the ship virtually invisible to sonar. The first tests carried out on test models showed the engineer significant progress in this direction. After that, the developers voiced their idea to the USA Department of Defense, but they failed to convince them of the need to use stealth submarines. The main reason for disinterest in this project was that the speed of such a device is much less than all existing types of submarines. The Office of Advanced Research Projects of the USA Department of Defense has invited researchers on secret developments. Skunk Works is one of the divisions of Lockheed Martin to redirect their work to the creation of surface stealth ships. In the 80s, a program was launched to develop an experimental ship, the Sea Shadow, designated under the Index X-529. The main tasks were to implement the technologies used on the F-117 aircraft. For example, the geometric shape of the ship and the special coating should help to maximize the dispersion of radar waves. Most control and intelligence systems must be operated automatically. This will significantly reduce the number of crew. The development of the Sea Shadow project was conducted in secrecy. To hide the ship from Soviet satellite intelligence, they used a special barge, a floating dry dock. The ship's hull was designed in the swath type. Two torpedo-shaped pontoons equipped with hydrofoils, each mounted with a propeller using two guides located at an angle of 45 degrees attached to the surface hull of the ship. This design makes the ship's stability at sea waves up to 6 points and reduces the unmasking wake to a minimum. The flat surface of the upper surface part of the hull served as a kind of deck, access to which is provided by two hatches located in the fore and aft parts. Due to the introduction of automation, 4 people are enough to control the ship, but 12 sleeping places and a minimum of necessary household items were placed on the Sea Shadow to ensure the normal life of the crew during a short trip. The original means for increasing low visibility was a system forming water curtain around the ship from a variety of tiny splashes, which reduced the probability of detection in the infrared range and made detection more difficult for high-precision radars. All welds on the hull were covered with a special compound. The Sea Shadow had an absolutely smooth surface without any protruding details and depressions. This made it possible not to reflect from the surface of the radar beams, thereby eliminating the possibility of detection. General characteristics of the ship: length of 50 meters, width of 21 meters, displacement of 572 tons, power plant presented in the form of 2 diesel-electric engines. The speed characteristics of the exact figures are not available. Various sources indicate from 14 to 28 knots, that is, from 26 to 50 kilometers per hour, a range of approximately 3,000 kilometers, but this data is not confirmed. The total cost of the project including sea trials is estimated at $195 million. There is no armament on the ship, although it was supposed to place a 7.62 mm machine gun mount and even a 76 mm Mk-75 universal mount, or to be equipped with Harpoon anti-ship missiles, but this is already out of the realm of fiction. It is simply impossible to place a launcher on a ship of this size. To do this, you would have to increase the size several times. In 1984, the first Sea Shadow sea trials began. They were conducted exclusively at night, and from the port of Redwood City, California, the ship moved independently along the San Francisco Bay until the police began to receive reports from citizens who claimed to have seen a floating alien ship. After that, the Sea Shadow tests continued further away from the coast on the ocean expanses. Transportation across the bay was carried out using the same floating dock HMV-1. In this mode of secrecy, the tests were held for almost 10 years. Sea Shadow demonstrated that it can not only avoid radars and sneak up on other ships, but can withstand a strong storm thanks to its double hull design. In 1993, the Sea Shadow was first presented to the public. Now the ship could make daytime trips without hiding in its mobile dry dock. In 1995, one of the Lockheed Martin engineers who was directly involved in the design of the marine infrastructure was arrested and convicted of selling secret documents. The stealth ship did not participate in real reconnaissance and combat operations and was not accepted into the fleet, but only formally registered with the U.S. Navy until 2000. After that, there was an offer to give it to some maritime museum, but for unknown reasons, there were no people willing to accept such an unusual exhibit. Sea Shadow tried to sell at auction at the highest price, but no one was interested in the initial offer, so they decided to lower the price to a symbolic amount of $100. A day later, the amount increased to $2.5 million, and the ship was sold to the Bay Ship and Yacht Co. Company. But the leadership of the Navy has set conditions. The owner will not be able to ride on the sea, for their own pleasure, and will not even be able to store it on a private pier, and immediately after the purchase must disassemble it for parts. It may seem that more than 10 years of work and almost $200 million were spent on something unclear, but this is far from the case. After all, initially, the Sea Shadow was not planned to be put into mass production. It was created as an experimental vessel to test the possibility of using stealth technology on military vessels. To later implement its concept in promising projects such as a new type of destroyer-type Zumwalt and coastal warships LCS-2 and the Sea Fighter FSF-1. The most annoying thing is that this unique ship is an integral part of the history of the Cold War and part of the future of the Navy was simply destroyed. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you like it, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks.